Okay, so let me check if it is working. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, it's starting. Done. So, we were doing these Aparokshanubhuti book, and we have done 3 verses. And the first verse we were trying to start. Sri Harim Paramanandam Upadeshtaram Sri Harim. That is Sri Hari to him. So these are all Ditya Vibhakti. Paramanandam is, it's not that Ishvara has Ananda, Ishvara has Sukha. That is how we describe ourselves, that we people have emotions, we have happiness and sadness and stuff like that. Bhagavan is not somebody who has Sukha or Ananda or anything. He is verily the embodiment Sukha and Ananda. So there is nothing called Bhagavan's happiness, because the Nirvikara, Nirvikalpakatmaka, Atma Tattva that we are talking about, he's not having any adjectives or any tags attached to him. So he's verily an expression of that ultimate bliss. There is no distinction. You cannot, that's Sachidananda Swarupa. So he's Sat, he's Chit, he's Ananda. Why Sat? Because non duality can also refer to Sunya, right? It can also refer to Sunyavadis or Abhava. Absence also you can say non-dual. So he's not absence, he's Satrupa and Chit. He's not referring to any object. He's not a material object. That's why Chit. He's Chaitanya Swarupa. Why should we be interested in Sat and Chit if we are happy here in Sansara? He's saying no, he's Niratisaya Ananda Rupa. Paramanandam, Upadeshtaram, and he is the one who gives us guidance. Why? How he does give us guidance? The sun helps everything find their existence in the morning. Whether you have your eyes or not, without the sun you cannot see. So he's Sarva Upadeshtaram, he's Sarva Bhasaka, he shows of everything. And also when we do Upasana, he is the one who becomes a beacon of light for us. He becomes the source of everything. Vyapakam, and he is that Adhika Desha Vritti, he is Vyapaka, and there is Vyapya. So wherever there is a necklace, there is gold. Gold can be there without necklace. Necklace cannot be there without gold. Similarly, Bhagavan Parameshwara is Vyapaka. Vyapya. So wherever there is gold, wherever there is a necklace, wherever there is any ornaments, there is gold. Wherever there is gold, there may or may not be alankara or any garments. And what is the best example? During Pralaya, Param Brahma, Ishvara is there. We shall not be there. Sarvalokanam, Karanam, and he is the cause. In what sense is the cause? Is he a material cause like milk becomes curd? That is Parinama Bada, material transformation. Brahman doesn't undergo any material transformation because it is not material. How sansara happens? The sansara happens according to the traditional Advaita Vedanta is not because Bhagavan sits down on a Sunday and creates this sansara. This is a projection. This is the Mayavada, as others call it. It is Vivartavada. This is an inverted appearance of that absolute reality as sansara. Everything is verily absolute reality only, but appearing as sansara. That is what is the traditional Advaita Vedanta Vada. However, when you look at the Vaishnava philosophies, Saiva philosophies, they argue that sansara is created by unimaginative creative power of the Lord, and he can create. And this is his creation is beautiful, it's real. Why should it be unreal? That is their argument. The Vedanti, Advaita Vedanti says, if you talk like this, you are basically challenging the very foundation of Upanishads, which say Neha Nanasti Kinchana. There is one thing that is Param Brahman, nothing else is absolutely real. So, what about this sansara? Is completely unreal? No, no, it's not unreal. This is mithya. So, you're saying false? The translation of mithya from Sanskrit to English is not false for the Advaita Vedanta. What is it? Mithya means relatively true. Relatively true. Apparently true. Not false, not absolutely false. It is, and science also agrees, everything is relatively true depending on at what level you are looking at it. Newtonian physics is fine. You go to higher level, Newtonian physics becomes irrelevant. So everything is true relative to the context in which we are talking about it. So the sansara is more true compared to dream. but less true compared to Atmajnana, Brahman. So this is called Vyavaharika Satya. That is what we call Mithya. Mithya means when you have Brahmajnana, this will be losing its influence on us. We shall not be at all influenced by it. And why this prayer in the beginning? Why not worship, something else? Why are you doing? He's saying, no, you're doing this worship, you're doing this prayer because you want to have liberation. That is the goal of your whole thing. And this is the prayojana. He's saying, Aparokshanubhuti Verse prochyate moksha siddhaye. To get liberation, sadvireva prayatnena dikshaniya muhurmuhu. So those who have that sattva guna, this is sadvihi, everybody cannot get into jnana sadhana. We have studied that at length in the Bhagavad Gita. There are only a few people who are prepared, who ascend to this level, and then they engage their minds in it. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Therefore, he's saying, Aparokshanubhutir Verse prochyate moksha siddhaye sadvir eva prayatnena vikshaniya muhurmuhu. So you need to have this. You need to meditate on it. You need to focus in your mind again and again, because this is the goal, and you want to have direct understanding of Aparokshanubhuti. Whenever you want to know something, there are three ways. Like you have Shastra Pramana, that is Shruti Pramana, that is written in the, and then you have Indriya Sansargatmaka Jnana, Pratyaksha Pramana, and then you have Yukti or Anumana, argument, deductive understanding of something. You have a premise, you give an argument, you give a cause, and you find a conclusion. Anumana, inferential knowledge. Yukti, you have argumentations. Shruti, Yukti. In the Yukti, you can include, you also have Pratyakya and Anumana. And finally, you have Anubhava. Anubhava is your own experience. This Anubhava can be of two types. One is that what is Yathartha Jnana, the Tarkaka says Smritir Anubhavasya. Smriti and Anubhava. So either it is memory, correct memory, or it is Anubhava, experience. Once you have Anubhava, then that can be remembered. You cannot remember what you haven't seen, what you haven't experienced. Now, the whole question is, there are a lot of logical issues to get into. We are not getting into it. Very briefly, let us imagine this much. Anubhava here can be Pratyakya. It could be, Anubhava can be, Anumana also is included. But Aparoksha word is mentioned because Anumana is Paroksha Jnana, or Sabda Jnana or Shruti Pramana is also Paroksha. You read it and you accept it because of the logical validity of it. We haven't seen a lot of things about the cosmos. We read about it and we believe it. That is Paroksha Jnana. What is Brahman? What is Atma? We are discussing right now. This is Paroksha Jnana. But when we meditate on it, and if we do it with the guidance that we are getting from this text, the text says, one day you'll be firmly established in Atmajnana. And that is not going to be anymore indirect or mediated. This knowledge is mediated. Mediated what? Between this knowledge and that truth stands these texts. You read them. The basis of your knowledge is what you have read or what you have heard, what you have thought. But Anubhava is Aparoksha Anubhuti. When you are having that word, you are saying that you have personal, intimate experience of that truth. There are times when you know the truth, but you have doubts in it. So between this Paroksha Jnana and Aparoksha Jnana, there are 3-4 steps in between. There are some pratibandhakas, you have to remove them. One is Jnana. Like, for example, the polar star. You don't have any doubt that the polar star exists, but you are not being able to locate it. Somebody asks you, can you show me where is the polar star? You say, no, I can't. But you are saying it exists. Now it does. How do you believe it? No, I have read it. I have no doubt about it. Can you show it to me? No, I am not being able to see it myself. That is Poroksha Jnana. But once you see it, you're saying, no, this is a polar star, I have seen it, and you want to see it, it's here. That is Aparokshanubhuti, that direct perception of it, unmediated, that is the goal. And how do you reach there? He's saying to be able to get into meditation into this, there are three main factors that you need to focus on. What are these? Swavarnashrama dharmena tapasa haritoshana. These three sadhanas is mentioning. Varnashrama dharma, as I had discussed last time, I'm just trying to recap because you had a gap. Varnashrama dharma is not about the caste system or the Varna system. Ashrama, you know, four phases of life. The Varnashrama dharma you have to reinterpret in the historical context in which you are, which means here and now we are talking about the responsibilities and duties that you have to discharge in the context of the roles you have assumed as per your station in life. You're born in a family as the eldest son or eldest daughter. You have an ailing father or a child who requires special attention. Children have to grow, they have to study, you have to marry them off. These are responsibilities you have. So you do these, and you know you're an academic or you're an engineer, you're an investor, depending on wherever you are. You should not have second thoughts. Should I do it? Should I run away? Bhagavan has clarified that in Bhagavad Gita. So when you look at whatever suited to your system, if you doing something unethical to be able to help people depend on you, you need to minimize and you need to be more ethical. But ethically discharging the duties is instrumental in also purifying your consciousness. Bhagavad Gita clarified that. And then he adds what? Tapasa. First, you do that bahya, bahya vritti, all the external connectivity with the world through which we have dharma and artha and kama. These three we try to satisfy. You have the pancha yajnas, right? You have the deva yajnas, brahma yajna, rishi yajna, pitri yajnas, bhuta yajna, manusya yajna. These are five sacrifices you do. Feed the animal, give some water, help some poor people. After doing all that, finally, with all the sadhanas, you also have to do certain personal upasanas and tapas. What Bhagavad Gita mentions about the kaika, vachanika, and manasika tapasya. Tapasya is kind of a disciplining, is exerting some energy. You do that. And then finally adds haritoshana, that bhakti. And what kind of bhakti? He clarifies here. There's a beautiful word, haritoshanat, bhagavat priti. You know, what is that bhagavat priti? Karat sarva bhuta daya lakshana. Because you see, sarva bhuta hite rataha. I was thinking about this issue. A person is very, very good at his work, is doing everything. But if he by mistake does something unethical, he indulges in some pratisiddha activities, nisiddha activities. His antakarana cannot remain pure. You know why? He has invited certain factors which are causative of some kind of agony. He will not feel happy. He can't get a good night's sleep. He might normalize. There are people and there are different levels of stress coping ability and sin coping ability. I have seen that. You must have also seen it. There's one guy who makes a minor mistake, he's quite disturbed. And there's another person, he makes 20 mistakes and he's smiling, he's relaxing. What is wrong? Look at the criminals, the psychopaths. Their antakarana is so dirty that one or two sins do not create any kind of disturbance within. Doesn't mean he is happy. Please understand this. He's storing causes of unhappiness in him. They may not fructify during this birth, but they will surely fructify because no action goes waste. Just because somebody is very relaxed doesn't mean he's very happy. He's relaxed means that is his biochemical state of his brain and he feels he's good. A lot of people drink and they're very confident. So that is what Bhagavan is clarifying, Haritoshanat. So I like the word which is mentioned by Vidyaranya Muni here, that Haritoshana will essentially include compassion and some kind of help for others, a bit of warmth. We're reading all the Vedanta and all, but we react or we get angry very quickly. Doesn't suit us. We obviously could not do it. So we have to take that into account, and that will sort of help us. That Haritoshana. And etehi trivhi sadhanai vairagyadi chatushtaya rupam sadhanam moksha sadhako dharma visheshaha pungsang prabhavet. So he's saying that you have to, after you do these three, sadhanam cha bhavet pungsang. What is this sadhana chatushtaya? He's starting this. From here on till the 10th verse, we would have very good understanding of what? Viveka, Vairagya, Samadhamadi, Satka Sampati, and finally Mumukshutva. Some definitional understanding in the slokas. The author of this text is laying the foundation for Vedanta sadhana. Towards the end of this whole book, he will tell you how to do meditation. What is Vedanta sadhana? The verses will come. And what is the samsara? Why you should not be obsessed with? That will come in one section. Now, from the beginnings, we are on the staircase towards internal purity, antakarana suddhi, and therefore we are discussing about vairagya, the sadhana chatushtaya. That is the adhikara. Because what are the four elements in Anubandha chatushtaya? You have vishaya, atma vishaya, prayojana, moksha siddhaya, you want liberation. Okay, now adhikara. So you have to have sadhana chatushtaya. Sambandha, each one with the other one. There is sambandha. What is the text and what is the vishaya? What is pratipadya vishaya? What are the pratipadaka vakyas? There are different kinds of relations. And as we move forward, that will become evident. So he's saying, verse number 4. ब्रह्मादिस्थावरान्तेषु वैराग्यं विषयेष्वनुः स्वनु यथेव काकविष्टायां वैराग्यं तद्धि निर्मलम् ब्रह्मादिस्थावरान्तेषु ब्रह्म is param brahma nirguna nirakara brahma, he's Nirakara, not visible. He's Samasti, but he's Saguna. His qualities. Who is he? He's called Sutratma, Hiranyagarbha. He becomes that beginning point. Brahmaji, you see in the pictures, you have this Nabhi Kamala on which he's sitting. He creates this sansara, but he's born out of Lord Vishnu. What is the meaning of it? Brahmaji himself is cause of the sansara, but he is also an effect. He's Karya Rupa. He's the first Karya of Ishwara. Who is Ishwaram? Vishnu Bhagavan here. And in Shiva Purana, Shiva will be the creator. In Durga Purana, Durga will be the creator. That is the beauty of our tradition, that whenever you are reading a Purana, the Adhishtatri Devata is projected is Parameshwara, which is perfect. Because these are Nama Rupatmaka. Parameshwara is one. He can be in any guise. How does it matter? Male, female, these are irrelevant questions for us. He can be male, he can be female. He's not having a biological body like us. These are all, it is what is called anthropomorphic imaginations. You are trying to see God as a human being. That's your own imagination. That's a limitation of how we are tuned to think about divinity. That has nothing to do with how the divinity is by its very nature. And we can get the insights into what the divinity is by looking at the spiritual texts. That is one handle we have. So he's saying Brahmadi Stavaranteshu. Starting with Brahma. These are all Abrahma Bhavana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. Bhagavan says that in Bhagavad Gita. So he's saying Brahmadi Stavara Anteshu. Now, it can be a blade of grass. Starting with Brahmaji, going towards a small object which exists on earth, could be a pebble, could be a bit of water, could be a small plant, could be a tiny insect. All this These are all part of what is called Vishaya. Remember this, Vishayeshu. Brahmaji creates us and he creates this whole sansara so that we can have bhoga. The sarira is bhoga ayatanam. Indriyas are bhoga karanas. These are instruments and tools we use to have experience of sukha, dukkha, vishaya sanyoga through jnana indriyas, karma indriyas. We engage with reality. Then we experience sukha, dukkha, and we incur papa punya, benefits and losses. Papa punya, benefits are punyas and papas are losses. From a lower mental point of view, when we do papa, we get pleasure. So we think these are benefits. Actually, there are losses. And punyas, a bit of sacrifice is required. These are kind of losses from a lower level. At a higher level, they are gains because they are going to give you long term benefits. Brahmadi savaranteshu vairagyam vishayasvanu. And then you have that vairagya. And what is that vairagya? This is a word we have discussed at length in Viveka Chudamani. It's again coming here. We have also discussed that in Bhagavad Gita. Ihamutra phalabhoga viragaha phalarahityam. You have raga dvesha rahityam. You don't have any attachment. Please understand, vairagya doesn't mean aversion. So you would find, I mean, of course, if you look at young boys and girls, if they have a friendship with somebody and there's a breakup, after the breakup, they hate the other person. That is not vairagya. There is some vikara, there is some stress, there is some anxiety. So that is not vairagya. Viraga, tasya bhava vairagyam is a state in which you are not afflicted by it, you are not moved by it, you are not agitated by it, positively or negatively. Neither are you feeling angry, anxious, restless when you look at that fellow or that particular object which has caused you some painful experience, nor do you feel attracted, excited, enamored, enchanted when you look at something which has previously provided you with a pleasant experience. That is Vairagya. Essentially, Vairagya means a state of equanimity where you are at peace with yourself and therefore you do not want to sacrifice this peace. You don't want to jump out of that peace into the muddle of life where there are promises of pleasure and risks of pain. That is the whole story all about. It's like a boy. There are two boys. You must have all experienced it during your childhood. We all have. So you used to play football, you remember? Then you go to play football and then you slip, you fall and you get muddied and you get injured. You have some bruises on your knees and you're a little boy, so you come home. Your mom sympathizes with you, but then she also reports it to your dad. Look, he has spoiled all this, so he needs a new pair of school dresses. Oh, really? You played football? With whom? Where did you play? How did you get injured? Why did it all happen? And your father knows that you are not playing within your school boundaries. The physical teacher wasn't present. You are playing with some street children. He did not appreciate it. Maybe there were some nefarious elements, and he suspects they have bitten you up or they targeted you particularly. And then he has a conversation with you, and you realize that you are not going to play with those boys again. Then what happens? You're you love football, so you're passing by the street and they are playing, you look at them and you walk on. You have got over that particular phase where you're obsessed with football. After 2 3 years, you're going to school, they are playing, you wave at them, you don't have any enmity, you have no aversion, you have no problem, you have got over the whole experience. You don't remember your bruises, the dirty clothes, the shouting from your parents, loving words of your mother, nothing comes to your mind. You're just quiet. You have a rich experience that this is not what you want to give your time. If you want to play, you will play in a proper place with proper guidance of a person and with a proper referee. So there is no kind of wrangle in the play field, no conflict, no physical fights. You are not bullied, you are not punished. And then you have decided that therefore you are not going there. There is no raga, no dvesha. You nicely look at them and you walk off. That is a state of equanimity. So you have now vairagya. Vairagya is not a very unhappy feeling. It's actually a very happy, peaceful feeling. That is what is explaining. Vairagyam Vishesvanu. And what kind of thing? What is the opposite of vairagya? Attachment, raga, dvesha. Vasana, you want to have this. You remember what is vasana? What is vasana? Why we need this? So it will come after this in the verse number 6. We'll have a little longer discussion. He's comparing the best form of vairagya is looking at sansara, comparing this with crow droppings. Crow it eats all kinds of dirty stuff, and crow droppings obviously dirtiest. The sansara is like that. It looks like a little negative, isn't it? No, but the purpose is very positive. The spiritual vairagya. This is not about aversion. This is not about hatred. This is not because in Buddhism, like and dislike both are creating some tightness in your mind. The traditional Vedantic interpretation by the acharyas, the Brahmanical interpretation, sometimes gives that hint that it's about hatred for samsara, and you see that with some people. During the beginning period of sadhana, sometimes you have to stay away, and there are certain rules for a monk or a sannyasi. The sannyasi is not supposed to be, sharing private space with a lady, however good or spiritually inclined, whatever she is, because the Shastra says it's very risky for them. These days, it's very, very risky because of the cell phone, because they could make they just could make a video and they could just make it viral, and you are in big problem, very embarrassing problem, because you don't know what they're doing. They just sit and they'll wave and this and that, and people also don't know what it is, and they'll post that video. So you are at a big problem. You know, great self-realized spiritual counselors like Ananda Mahima, she had made it a rule that she would not entertain any male devotees inside a room. Can you imagine? Swami Yogananda went to meet her at Dehradun. He has written how he was made to wait for her in the garden space in the building in which she was residing there. She came out and she met him. She met all people. She was very affectionate. She'll give you a hug or give you a lot of affection, but she had certain rules for herself. She never ever entertained anyone inside a room. And many sannyasis follow that strict rule, because otherwise, this is something a rule. Now, is it hatred? Is it dvesha? Is it kind of discrimination? Is it some prejudice? No. The Suddha Vairagya, that Kaka Vishta word is there. This is your internal warning system, how you should stay away from it. The tatparya of this sentence is not in understanding the sansara is dirty. That is not the purpose. The purpose is what is otherwise very beautiful, otherwise nice place, is a punishment for you. Can you see some example for this? Yes, you have. Imagine there is an offering of rabidi, and what? You have butter and rabidi, all kinds of lovely milk products will be offered to Lord Krishna coming 30th on the Janmashtami day, and you have diabetes and you have some heart problem. Is it good for you? You have disrespect for it? No, but you are staying out. And the doctor has said you should treat it as Kaka Vishtavat. Why? Because what is good for others right now, given your purpose, is harmful for you. If the student is preparing for his examination, and I remember I still remember, I can't forget it. So there was this bright guy, batch junior to me. Now he joined IIT, I don't know. He was a very brilliant student. He ran to me and he said, Bhaiya, you know what happened? I said, what happened? He said, Gavaskar scored some 27 runs in 17 balls. You saw that? I laughed, took a bath because we had a common bathroom in the sense you will have small rooms. So there's a space where you stand for your turn and you get in the bathroom, take a bath, and you push off. Just smiled, didn't even respond. He said, what? And he thought that I was not nationalistic enough. There's an important match going on and I have no concern. He said, you don't have any feeling for the Indian team. I laughed. I said, I have exams. I have a paper tomorrow. You know that? Then he smiled. It's not that you don't have any concern for it. So a lot of desirable things which are desirable only in a certain context and from the perspective of somebody for whom they are desirable. There's nothing called universally desirable in a normal sense. Ultimately, of course, liberation is desirable for all. Doing good things is desirable for all. But how it happens and in what context? That's why Arjuna wanted to go and take sannyas and meditate on the Brahman. What Lord Krishna said, sorry, karmanyava adhikaraste. You have adhikara in karma right now. You can't run away. Please don't even think about it. Do your karma yoga. Therefore, here this kakavishta, I'm just trying to underline this fact that this is not to nurture in any of us kind of dvesha or dislike or prejudice against, because this whole Varnashram is mentioned as a sadhana, right? You have to go through it. If you treat samsara as crow dropping, would you be able to do your duties as a father, as a son, as a person, as a professor, as an engineer? You cannot. So these are phases. When you are through with it, then you want to have higher level of engagement with the truth. Obviously, you would be slowly withdrawing yourself from all this. This is a different phase. This is not about denial. This is about a choice, a positive choice. But when you are doing this duty, this is fine. And this doesn't contradict that because that is another phase. Person is same. Two different phases of life. Same person who was very fond of friends, gets married, he has children. He doesn't go away in the evening. He's concerned about health of his daughter. He wants to teach his daughter, isn't it? Tum badal gaye, you changed. No, he hasn't changed. He remains a very responsible person. He was responsible towards you as friends, and now he's responsible towards his wife, his children, his family. That choice he has made. Now he has chosen to go on the jnana path and is perfecting vairagya. For him, the samsara, he has to now learn to withdraw and not dabble in daily lot of wrangles. He'll slowly move himself away. If the wife is able to take decisions, the husband is intelligent enough to let her take all the decisions, except where he's required. He doesn't poke his nose in everything. Okay, you decide. Why should I get into it? She's happy doing it. When she asks, okay, give guidance. Otherwise, let her decide. Things are going on. And then he's saying in the next, that is the, but this vairagya thing, I just wanted to put it in a context that you don't have this life denying. And like, Sri Aurobindo has also mentioned about Sankaracharya. Partly true. That's why I have to speak so much to just mitigate any adverse interpretation of that word, kaka vishtaya. Now, verse number 5. What is viveka? What is the sadhana chatushtaya? You have the viveka and then vairagya. So first viveka is explaining. Vairagya he first explained. Now you might ask me, why did he explain vairagya first? Why not viveka first? Because the krama is viveka and then vairagya. Actually, vairagya is the phala of viveka. Why are you having vairagya? Vairagya is of many kinds. You have something called smasana vairagya. Somebody dies. Jihasa vairagya. You are angry at some place, you leave your job, you break your marriage, you end a friendship. Very temporary, very emotionally charged. Not true vairagya. When you have jnana vairagya, it's a slow, steady process of change. There are two, three ways in which boys and girls marry. When they are very young, they get infatuated, and then this very powerful infatuation, and they get married. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. They run away. It's very filmy. Same person marries, remember, at 28, 29, or whatever. He has a job, he's stable, he's thinking about it. He's not having false emotions. If he marries even a little later, even it's very cool. It's a very slow change, gradual change. It's understanding. He's not emotionally charged that he's getting married. Of course, I'm not talking about the ones who are social media savvy and they post a lot of pictures and stuff like that. So that's different. Internally, it doesn't make much sense to them. Same is true about spiritual transformation. In America, in some university, in the psychological department, they did a study of this whole renunciatory practices by different people and spiritual transformations. In the Christian community, they found that in the early phases of life, those who are turning spiritual, there is an element of drama and sudden and abrupt changes. They run away, they become monks, and this and that. The same person, when he's trying to take a stride into a spiritual life later in life, maybe after 40s, after the daughter has got married, she has found a job. Maybe in America, of course, the wife found another partner, she's got bored with you. These people don't have any emotional plunge into spirituality, but rather a gradual process of transformation, which is slow and steady, based on an internal appreciation of what they would like to do in life. It's a slow, steady, very stable, well sustained process of change. And that is the beauty of it. That is Jnana Vairagya. And that holds. It's not about running away and doing something and then again falling into some other trap. I mean, that happens even in later time. I'm seeing a lot of people and a lot of CEOs, they come and land up with some guru, and that guru tells them, you have to solve ultimate vairagya. So, what does that mean? You give away all your property and this and that, and they do that. And then they take to saffron clothes and this and that. Then, after about a couple of years, they find they're struggling. Why? They're not used to this kind of a life. They have given away all their wealth and they have nowhere to go. They're very miserable. You have to have a genuine understanding of what you're doing. Spiritualism is not about drama. It's not about any abrupt changes. It has to be slow, steady, sustained. Therefore, that vairagya fructifies out of proper viveka, proper understanding. And that's why the satsang and other things are very useful, even when you are doing your grihastha ashrama. Dharma, artha, kama you are pursuing, not a problem. You want to, ultimately, everybody is a mumukshu. Grihastha is a mumukshu, brahmachari is a mumukshu, Banaprasthi is a mumukshu, and sannyasi is a mumukshu. Bhagavan explained that in Bhagavad Gita. They are in different stages of the spiritual journey. The student is also mumukshu, but he doesn't want to run away. He will do his studies. Parents want him to get married, her married. He or she will marry, discharge his responsibility. Slowly, gradually, you will get into this. That is what he's saying, that this vairagya is the phala. So, what is the karana vairagya? What is the cause of vairagya? That is viveka. So, he's going in a reverse fashion. So, he first talked about vairagya, then he's going to viveka. Remember another thing, without vairagya, you might have a lot of viveka, but it only means that your viveka is not phalavati. It's like uh, and old parents, they got their son married after a lot of persuasion. He didn't want to marry. They spent a fortune getting him married. In Indian conditions, you know how it happens. And they wanted what? They were lonely. They wanted grandchildren at home. And then the son doesn't give them grandchildren. They're very happy. Their whole process of spending money is not palavati. Didn't get anything out of it. They remain lonely. Or he marries and the girl comes and she sort of decides that they cannot stay together. Or even if she has children, she doesn't allow the children to talk to the grandparents. They just wanted company of children. They were bored, they were retired. So there was this couple in Bombay who filed a case in the High Court saying that my son should return so many million rupees because I've spent on his engineering education. Married for 5 years, no children, we're going to die. We are lonely at home. I don't know what happened, but it came out in the newspapers. So in the next verse now, he's talking about that Viveka. So Vairagya mentioned, he's going back about Viveka. नित्यमात्मा स्वरूपम ही दृश्यम तद्विपरीतगम एवं यो निश्चय सम्यक विवेको वस्तुनः सवै नित्यम आत्मस्वरूपम. You know what is Viveka? In Tattvabodha we said Nitya Nistya Vastu Vivekaha. Nitya and Anitya Vastu, you are able to distinguish, discriminate, separate, isolate the true from false. That Vivechana, that analytical power, that analytical exercise, what is Viveka? So he's saying Nityam Atma Swarupam, Drik Swarupam, Drik and Drishya, Viveka, that is the title of one beautiful book. What you see, whatever is Thakur Ramakrishna Paramahansa used to say, Jadugar, the magician, is real. The magic is illusionary. This is an illusion produced by the magician. His reality is not in question. The reality of what he shows is in question. God is not in question. The Srishti is in question. The Srishti is not fundamentally real. Completely unreal? No, I never said that. Relatively real. Relatively true. Not absolutely true. So who is absolutely true? Brahman. God. He's absolutely true. Why? He has no beginning and no end. Anadi Nidhanam Vishnu. No beginning and no end. There are a few things who do not have a beginning but have an end. And what is this? They call in Nyaya philosophy Praga Bhava. So before this pencil was created, this absence of this pencil, the prior absence, before it came into picture, when it was being made, what was there? Praga Bhava. Prior absence of this pen. When did it start? The absence of this pen, could you relate it to 5 years back? Was it there? No. 20 years back? 5,000 years back? Was it there? No. 25 billion years back? Was this pen there? No. So the Praga Bhava of this pen or pencil is Anadi. It has no beginning. When this was created, what happened to that absence? The absence got dominated. See, Anadi Shanta, that is Praga Bhava. When I break and destroy this pen is there. Destruction of this pen has a moment in time on the time scale. So that is what? It is Anadi? No. It has Adi. It has one Adi. It has a beginning. So it is Sadi. So it has a beginning. So we call it Sadi. Sadi is Dantasa there. And then once you destroy it, the absence of the pen will be there tomorrow, day after 5 years, after 20 years, after 5,000 years, after 25 billion years. You can go on and on. The pen's absence continues. So it becomes Ananta. So that is what Pradvangsa Abhavaha Ananta. That becomes Ananta without an end. But Sadi, it has a beginning, no end. So these are two categories. They are Abhavatmaka, not Bhavatmaka. The only thing which is Anadi Ananta is that Brahman. So Desa Kala Vastu Paricheda Sunyaha. Desataha Kalataha Vastutaha Paricheda Sunyam. It is not restricted by time, by physical location, locality, or by what it is. Vastugata Bheda Rahita. So it was always there in the past, in the present, and in the future. There is no time where it will not be there. It's not restricted by time. It is free from time restriction. Time is actually an imagination now. You know physics. And then it's non-local. You cannot corner it. It is here. It has some coordinates. It has no coordinates. All coordinates are imagined in that absolute truth called Brahman. Because it's sarva vidyaman, omnipresent. So it is achala. Where does it move? How can it move? Is there any space where it can move? No, that space is there at the corner of this universe, but that is also Brahman. There is also Brahman. All these universes are appearing and disappearing in that infinite space, in that infinite reality called Brahman. And finally, there are no two Brahmans, like one pen, another pen. Pen and pencil, there is Brahman and something else. No, that is also not there. And Brahman, whole and parts, that's also not true because it's not a physical thing. It cannot have a whole and parts. The Vaishnava Mata, they say whole and parts. Angangi Bhava, that Bhagwan is there, Sesa Sesi Bhava, the Sansara is born out of him. Fine. That is another way to look at it. So here he is saying, Nityam Atma Swarupam He. And whatever, this is Drik Rupa, this is Chaitanya Rupa. And what is Drishya Varga? Whatever is visible. And they are not true. The Vedanta gives the example of dream. Dreams are visible. Are they real? They are not real. Mirage is real. The best example is in Vedanta, if somebody says, how can you say Sansara is unreal? You know, one example you can imagine is you look at the rainbow. The rainbow actually has no physical existence. The sunlight is there, then you have these rain droplets, superfine, and you have this arch, colorful arch, the rainbow. It's there, it looks, and when you walk around, if there are a couple of mountains, and the other day by the Ganges, I was walking, and the rainbow, the more I moved, the rainbow also adjusted itself. It was visible to me. Why? Because depending on my location, I will see the formation of the rainbow. The formation of the rainbow is dependent on whom? The seer, the person who is seeing, in his location. Wherever you go, accordingly, it will have a shape for you. It doesn't have any shape of its own. It's your location which determines from which angle to where, how it looks. Same also in case of a mirage. If you're on a highway, you'll find there is some water is sort of floating, as if the highway is submerged in water, just ahead of you. You go there, again it's dry, again, all the time it appears like that during very sunny summer days, summer afternoons when it's very high, very dry and very hot. Now, all these appearances are not fundamentally real. Like the sunrise, sun doesn't rise, but it appears as if the sun rises. The stars appear very small, but they are very big. The moon appears like a small thing, smaller than us, much larger than us. So in our everyday life, we have the experience of a lot of things which are not what they look like the sky is of blue color, it has no color. So he's saying, Drishyam tad viparitagam, that Drikshwarupa Atma, that is real, that is Nitya, and everything other than that are in Drishya Varga and they are unreal. Evam yo nishaya, evam yaha nishaya. When you have that conclusion, and he's saying samyak vivekaha vastunaha save. Sa nishayaha vastunaha samyak vivekaha. That kind of a resolution, that kind of an understanding, a conclusive understanding, nishchayatmika buddhi. You're not having any more any doubts. You have done your physics well. You know the sky doesn't have a blue color. After knowing this, you have studied about diffraction, interference. You know how it appears. It doesn't have blue color. You go and look at the sky. It looks blue. It will not become white because you have studied a lot of physics. The mirage will not cease to appear before your eyes because you have studied how it happens, because you know the laws of physics. No, it's going to appear. Same way, he's saying the drishya varga are anitya. They are appearing and they will disappear. We ourselves will disappear with these physical bodies. We are in drishya varga. Only the Chaitanya aspect, that Atma is nitya. When we are able to distinguish this nitya and anitya, Atma and anatma, that is the right viveka. Viveka or discrimination is of different kinds. You say we are fighting against discrimination and prejudice. We are not talking about that laukika discrimination. Here we are talking about the spiritual discrimination. The best example which is given is the capacity of the duck to suck, or the swan, to suck milk out of milk mixed with water. They say that the swan is able to drink milk and leave water. I don't know how it happens, but they say it happens. Look at the fish. It drinks water, it takes water, keeps oxygen, leaves out water. No, they do it. There's so many things, and look at our own skills. There are so many things. We inhale air, we inhale all kinds of things. We inhale carbon dioxide, nitrogen, whatever is there in the air, we inhale it. What do we make use of? No, we are just taking oxygen in. We're looking for oxygen. How does this particular thing, our lungs, our system, is able to only make use of oxygen? So, viveka, which is prescribed by Shastra, is happening naturally in nature. No? It happens. You know how the whole process of photosynthesis happens in the plants. You'd see this viveka is there everywhere. Without viveka, sustenance of this srishti is impossible. Every moment there is viveka or aviveka, either wrongly or rightly. Only we human beings, because we have a mind, we are not prone to be viveki naturally, like the leaves of a plant are. They have some laws for them, how they behave. But our minds can go against ourselves. Our mind can go against itself. A human being can go against itself. That is the hardest thing which we have to overcome. So, by mistake, I got muted. I don't know how it happens. So, what is tricky here is to understand that because of a risk we run, that we may not be viveki, there is this advice that you do that samyak vivekaha vastunaha save. Now, after that, the next step, we have hit the timeline. So we would stop here, the verse number 5. I deliberately went slow because there are some people who could not attain today also. But we will anyway be making progress tomorrow. We will try to hit the 10th verse tomorrow. We have finished till verse number 5 and we will move forward. So, any questions? We have a couple of moments and you can ask and then we'll wind up. Any questions you have, any of you?
Swamiji has rightly said that one has to be Bibeki to avail the facility of Bairagi. To become
Yeah,
Bairagi, when one has to Bibeki, then becomes the effect is Bairagi. Can
yeah,
there be someone who is also Bairagi but not Viveki? Is that the
yeah,
reverse can possible?
yeah. So, Karana, without Karana, Karya cannot be there. So, if a person has Vairagya but doesn't have Viveka, that Vairagya is not going to be useful. It may be not Jnana Vairagya, it can be Jihasa Vairagya. He's
Okay,
unhappy. He's unhappy. There's a girl who had an affair and she got jilted in love, or a boy who got jilted in love. He leaves everything, he loses interest. His life hasn't changed. There is no Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka. That Vairagya will not hold. This is an appearance of Vairagya. And that Vairagya is not equanimity. If we define Vairagya as Raga Dvesha Rahita Samatva, the person you are referring to cannot have that without proper Viveka. If Vairagya means withdrawal, you can have Vairagya without Viveka. You can have Vairagya without Viveka. There are some people who are absolutely not intelligent, but they have very strong Vairagya. By very nature, they don't get into a lot of things. They intuitively behave. So, can you say that they have Vairagya? You cannot deny the fact that at a subconscious level they have an understanding of what it is and what is right, what is wrong. They have some viveka. That vairagya can also be powerfully there because that person's viveka could be modular. A person is very loving and warm at home, but is very angry at office. A person could be very warm and loving in his friend circle and could be a very cruel person at home. This is modular behavior. So this person now has a Vairagya module, and that Vairagya is modular in a certain context. He has strong Vairagya. But he may have attachment in other things. That means his Viveka is also kind of functional in a certain set of domains and not functional in other domains. If you remember Viveka Chudamani, vasanas, we will discuss that tomorrow, are long standing impressions lying hidden in the subconscious. So a person may have Vairagya, may have some Viveka, which are not samyaga, they are not comprehensive. And then he has moved forward, he has taken sannyasa, but there are some purva vasana. So he has terrible weakness for ice cream. He would watch out if anyone is watching, but he finds another monk and they're going. And they decide, okay, we'll have an ice cream. They might smile and go buy an ice cream. They will never have ice cream in public, but they like it. The children, they loved ice cream, so they will have an ice cream. It's innocent pleasure. All the desires don't go; they will lie hidden. So it's very tricky. One has to all the time analyze. So vairagya might manifest. Appearance of vairagya is possible without viveka. Comprehensive vairagya requires comprehensive viveka and based on jnana and perfection in the ability to analyze and isolate what is real from what is partially real or relatively unreal. That, depending on the degree, everybody joins you in your classroom. All students opt for one paper, maybe only two or three are actually capable of doing very well, but others also join and you accept them. It's like that. That's how it happens in life. So I think there is room for relative differences. So we can take it forward tomorrow. We can do the Sankhya
Yes,
mantras.
yes, Swami.
Om Purnamadaha
Purnamadaha
Purnamidam
Purnamidam Purnat
Purnat Purnamudachyate
Purnamudachyate Purnasya
Purnasya Purnamadaya
Purnamadaya
Purnameva
Purnameva
Vasishyate
Vasishyate
Om
Om Shanti
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 Shanti